Yeah, so my submissions, it's linked with the novel that I'm writing for my PhD. And it's kind of a short story idea that I've wanted to do for a while. So it's kind of an exploration of how the kind of dark force in my novel is created. So it was just a really fun kind of experimentation to kind of play about with. It's called The Beginning. I apologise as well if my throat goes really croaky. I've been talking to customers all day, so I've got a cup of coffee, but sorry if I go croaky. The earth was hard, the fire was long extinguished, but its heat still crept into the soles of Aya's feet. Spikes of ash stabbed her skin, stones, pottery, burns. The enforcers had done well. Everything in the camp was gone. Only the white-barked trees which had once ringed it remained. Aya ran a hand down the nearest one, hoping to soothe its grey burn mark, but healing had never been her strength. Naya would know best. A crust of bark peeled under her touch, and she held the perfect curl in her fingers. A cool wind blew, and the bark floated away, up and up into the grey sky. She adjusted her furs and rubbed her nose, but nothing could eradicate the stink of crackled wood, burnt flesh and blood. It covered her tongue in a metallic film. A cough broke through the trees. Shay was being sick. Moments later, she entered the ring of trees, rubbing a sleeve over her face. Naya followed. One of the enforcer's hounds had made fine work of tearing open her left cheek, but Naya had refused to heal it. There would be others who'd need her energy more, but there was no one left. Aya headed towards them. Are you all right? Shay nodded, lips sealed shut. She was good at fighting, just not good with the aftermath. Perhaps I could settle your stomach, Naya suggested. She reached out towards the folds of Shay's jacket. Save it, Shay snapped. Brown spittle flew from her lips and she jabbed a finger at Naya's blood-encrusted cheek. Fix yourself unless you want that to get infected. Very well. Naya turned away and laid a hand over her face. Aya couldn't hear the communication between Naya and her Tanubi, but it hummed along the hairs on her arms. Shay shivered and rubbed her palms together. Seconds later, Naya turned around, cheek smooth and brown as before. Did you find her? Aya shook her head. The enforcers get more money for live manipulators. They may have taken her. Don't lie to yourself, Aya. Shay wiped her shiny forehead. Enforcers have no interest in live ones anymore. It's past that. The trials were entertainment, but public execution isn't enough for Valkrith anymore. Now Van Datch's dead, they want us all to go the same way. No speeches, no pageantry, just corpses. Then she's here. Aya set off, stepping over smashed pots and the broken stone circle of the campfire. It won't take long to find her. For hours they sifted through skeletons and shriveled furs. Some members of the community were easier to identify. Daye's staff was still in his crumbling hand. Aya's hand closed around his knuckles. Had he died wielding it, or had someone placed it in his hand before the fire consumed him? They knew Marteya by her black teeth and high cheekbones. Even some of her cotton white hair remained coiled around her midriff. Where the other children were, there was no telling. Everything had happened so quickly. Thank the gods Naya had shown them the hollow where the Guar herb grew yesterday. Without its shelter, they would have been smoking burns. She went to the edge of the camp. A leather shoe protruded beneath the hut wall. The buckle on it was made from blue steel, a gift from their father to their mamma before Pox claimed him. Her heart stilled. Naya, Shay. Between them, they hoisted the wall and dropped it several feet away. Ash and smoke whipped across the clearing, and it was some moments before Aya could assess mamma. There wasn't much left of her. She knelt and stared into the gaping hollows of her eyes. Once they'd widened with laughter, or narrowed when they were naughty. Shay spoke first. I have a pouch. Aya nodded, and they set to dismantling the bones. They were still warm. Some flesh still clung to the feet, which forced Shay to run to the bushes. Do we leave her foot here? Naya's fingers hovered over it. I could heal it. Yes, she should be intact. Naya's fingers roved over the foot, and the skin curled in on itself until the jagged edges were healed. I added them to the pouch, then nestled it between her hands. Mamma was heavier than expected. She cut the buckles from Mamma's shoes. Blue steel, worked with such intricacy, fetched good prices, but selling them was not an option. Shay came back, unsteady on her feet. What now? We've nowhere to go. Aya sat back on her heels. Shay was right. All their family and friends had been eaten by fire. There was no knowing how far the nearest settlement was. Towns are not an option, Naya said, reading her thoughts. You want us to go where the enforcers came from? No. Then what? Shay kicked a pebble. Everyone's gone. We've no money, no food, no trade. We're going to die, aren't we? She sat cross-legged in the dirt. We should have died with Mama. Mama didn't want that, Aya growled. Well, what would Mama want? The breeze whispered against the crispy leaves. One landed in Naya's hair, another perched on Shay's shoulder. A third settled in Aya's lap. She picked it up in one hand, Mama's burns in the other. She'd want this to end, for us to be safe. How could we be safe? Naya's brow creased and she brushed some tawny hair from her face. By reversing the situation, doing to them exactly what they've done to us. Shay's mouth flickered. Make them suffer, make them burn. But how will this help manipulators? Naya's frown deepened. Mirroring their violence won't help our reputation. You think I want to do this? Aya eyed her. For years we've hidden from the world because we're hated, because we're killed. They attacked us and we did nothing to deserve it. She leaned back. Fetch a bowl, take out your knives. We are going to summon a spirit. Thank you.